Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here with a familiar face if you've been watching us the past year. Alex Sharpe, who is the president and CEO of Signature Travel Network, which is one of the largest cooperatives agency groups in the country and highly regarded. And they just finished their annual conference, which unfortunately I couldn't attend. But we're going to talk about that and the state of Signature, the state of Signature's agents, advisors, I should say, with Alex on Insider Travel Report. Now, Alex, first of all, great to see you. Where are you? You back in Florida now?
I'm back home for a couple days, and then get back on the road like everyone. It's a busy season.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, I'm headed over to Europe now, and it's going to be busy until pretty much the middle of December. But let's talk about the conference you just finished in November. You had it out in Vegas. You had it at a new venue, the Venetian. Tell us a little bit about how successful was that conference for you?
It was great. I mean, I have to say it was healing in many ways, right? I mean, it worked from a technical perspective. There was great training, there was great participation, but more than anything, right? I think this industry needs to be together. Those are the types of people we are, and so from that side, it was incredibly healing to be all together under one roof, and those that were comfy, right? The hugs and the rest of it was certainly it was helpful.
No,
It
and
was long
absolutely.
needed after 2 years.
Yeah, and I hear you had over 1,142 advisors in Vegas, and I think
Yeah.
you had about 400 plus of them were first-time attendees, and you also had about almost 600 preferred partners, right?
Yeah, it was a good group. We're about 1,700 all in, a bunch of new folks, which is, was partially because we have some new members. Also because, I think there are some folks who maybe, don't get out to the conference on a regular basis, but needed it this year. And,
Right.
and so they came out.
So
So
people actually they weren't afraid of COVID. They wanted this conference, and they would go, right?
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. It was really fun to have everyone there.
Well, let's talk also about how you're doing. How are sales looking? Well, we're almost out of 2021, so let's talk about 22. What are sales like for your members for 22?
Yeah, they've been good, right? I think that's what's kept everyone engaged through this last 6 months, because it's been a trudge the last 6 months. Between we were kind of on a high, and then Delta hit, and everyone went, "Oh crap! What are we going to do?" And now, even after our conference, now we're talking about Omicron and the
Right.
rest of it. And so the 22 sales is what's really kept people engaged, because they're looking at this huge opportunity for 22. Our cruise sales are We have more cruise sales on the books today for 2022 than we did in all of 2019. We look at our land sales are up significantly, same time last year. Our hotel sales have been really strong domestically, and now we're starting to really grow internationally as the world, opens up. And so, I think that's been the lifeline. Frank Del Rio did a talk, and I think it wasn't the one at conference, it was another time when he addressed our members, and he said, "You've made it this far." He
Right.
says, "You can't quit now," and that's
No,
how people
reap
feel.
the rewards, right?
Yeah, and that's just, I mean, when you think about the couple $1 billion in business we have on the books for 2022, and you start translating that into commissions, you say, wow, with 211 agencies and the advisors, there's a lot of money to be had, and still a lot more to be booked.
Now, are you getting any feedback, and it's really soon, about this Omicron virus, if it is affecting bookings so far? Are you hearing cancellations? People just not care anymore?
Yeah, I mean, you do hear an occasional cancellation. Certainly people are concerned. They're not, I would say, on a whole, and this is anecdotal, that they're not concerned about Omicron. They're concerned about getting stuck. And that's what we've
Right.
heard for the last several months about all this stuff, right? If they're traveling, by and large, they're fully vaccinated, right? They've had their booster, many of them. They're ready to go. And so the concern, though, is, well, gosh, I still want to go to South Africa. I still want to go on that cruise. I still want to do that. But will I get stuck?
Right.
And for obvious reasons, maybe it's heck, when you think about traveling right now, you and I were just talking about this. You're going to Europe. If you get stuck, are you there for Christmas?
Right.
Right? How long are you stuck for? What other obligations will you miss? So it's those things that I think run through people's heads. From an advisor perspective, though, even if there aren't cancellations, there's huge phone volume, right? Everyone's got questions. What are the new regulations? How do I handle it? When do I have to get tested? All those things, which, is a pain in the rear, don't get me wrong, but at the same time reinforces the value of a travel advisor, both to the customer and also to the supplier, because the suppliers in many cases can't answer the phones with just new bookings, let alone the questions that come along with the rest of this. So it's an important time where we continue to kind of prove our value. But I do think that people who were booked to travel now are certainly ready to travel. Those that are maybe a bit nervous and have future bookings, it makes them think, well, should I push it out even further, right? Everyone needs something on the books to look forward to, but
Right.
will they take Q2 and Q3 bookings for next year and move them later if they think this Omicron thing is going to be a bigger deal? And we'll know in the next few weeks. And I actually think, and not to get into the politics of it, but the science part of it has to catch up to the politics. And I certainly understand why people act quickly, right, to try and, protect. But now, like we've talked about, we're going to follow the science, I hope, right, and figure it out. A lot of what I've read is that it's a pretty mild strain. It spreads quickly, but it's mild.
Yeah.
I keep hearing, you'll get muscle soreness for a couple of days. Well, hell, come to my house and put up Christmas lights. I had muscle soreness for a week. So I would take a couple of days, but it's a lot of unknowns.
I think you're right, and we're all rushing, and of course governments are rushing to what do they also CYA, cover your ass? I don't know.
Yeah.
This kind of thing where people are just rushing to judgment before the science is in, and I think that's a mistake. But it seems to be how governments and even airlines and people like that operate. We're getting every day some other new regulation, some other testing requirement. Hopefully not quarantine. Although if it is quarantine, well, I hear the Christmas markets are really good these days. Maybe I'll enjoy that for a little while. But now let's talk a little bit about one of the things, and even during COVID in the past year, you've added a lot of partners. I think I read you added about 100 new hotels, most in North America. And your preferred hotel bookings are up about 500% over 2020, and even, probably almost approaching 2019. And you mentioned earlier, some of it's going to be above 2019, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. We've added a lot of hotel partners. We haven't added a lot of land or cruise partners. But the hotel partners, anything we added was really in response to what is the need, right? So a lot of those hotels are domestic hotels. So we broadened our portfolio here domestically, in Mexico, in Latin America, and the Caribbean a bit. When you look at it on the cruise side, we added a American Queen, right? And so that, again, a domestic product. On the land side, primarily what we added, right, was another home rental company, a luxury RV company, right? So those were things we're just trying to plug holes, right, as demand had shifted. But by and large, the focus is to just stay loyal to those who have stayed loyal to us and make sure we're delivering, a disproportionate value to them in 2022.
Absolutely. And also beyond just more supplier partners, you've also been busy on the program front and all with your technology and everything else. I understand, you've got enhancements to your cruise booking tool, the Signature Cruise Pro. You've got enhancements to a lot of different things. Your air platform, Signature Air. Talk a little bit about some of the things that you don't have to talk about all of them because you've done so many, but what are some of the key advancements and key programs that you unveiled at the sales conference or earlier at the owners event earlier this year?
Well, I think there's a couple of things, right? Our mission statement, I'm not a big mission statement guy, but ours is very succinct, right? It's we're going to serve our members. And then the three pillars are technology, marketing, and training. And we're going to do it through and with our preferred partners, right? So we've really focused on staying focused on that, right? And so from a technology perspective, it's about deepening the relevance of the advisor and then efficiencies, right? There's fewer advisors per agency right now. I mean, that's just the state of the industry, and they have more demand on their time and a harder job. So how do we create efficiency? So things like, we licensed Sharpe for every single advisor.
Mm.
so that they had a very easy way to update and their customers and keep them updated with, sending them links that they would refresh regularly and that kind of thing. So we did that. Signature Cruise Pro is a great example of creating efficiencies. And heck, who wants to be on hold right now? A lot of the cruise lines have had a hard time rehiring, and we get that. And there's a lot of changes and that kind of stuff. So we focused on the things that we thought would drive the most value. And because we're owned by our travel agency owners, right? That's what we do. We're not out trying to create, a new press release or the next great thing. We're just trying to figure out how we serve them in the best way. And that's the way we approached it. We continued to invest. Our capital projects continued to move forward all the way through COVID. And, we're proud to be able to do that. You mentioned the Signature Air, which is, that for us was when we looked at the demand, we said, well, gosh, a customer who might have booked their own air before absolutely wants an advisor to own the entire vacation package. They want to understand how the COVID regulations impact it, because hey, I'm flying through London, and so that makes it different, even though I booked them on a trip to Italy. And so what we found is we had some cruise only agencies, or we had some agencies that didn't have a GDS. And so we came up with a multi-pronged solution for them that allows them to work through our member, our partner Frosh, and fulfill on the air side. And gosh, so many agencies and advisors, as over the years, said, oh gosh, since the commission cuts, you can't make money on air. And all the big guys just giggle, right? They say, we make great money on air. And these guys are earning commissions on domestic tickets. They're earning great commissions on the international over the water stuff. And so it's another great opportunity for them to not only serve their customer better, but put some more money in their pocket.
No, absolutely. And those are two big advancements. I know I've been writing about that for a while, although I'll admit that for the first 10 years after the commission cuts and caps, I told most travel advisors, don't bother with the air because you're not making any money. Well, I was wrong. And I talked to a few people about 10 years later, and I wrote a story called Make Money Selling Air, which was at the time we're talking 10 years ago. And people realized, why leave money on the table? It doesn't make any sense.
It's a great opportunity. Again, we need to own the entire booking, right? We need to serve those customers the right way, and that's a great way to do it. But also, selling air, selling insurance, charging fees, those are also ways that people can earn additional incremental revenue. And in the case of insurance and fees, you get it sooner than the commission on when people travel, right? So
absolutely. Now, on the marketing front, you've done a lot. You always do a lot. I understand you're ramping up your leads for travel advisors and with their brand messaging. You're offering a bunch of tools to customizing emails, direct mail publications, things like that. And you also are seeing strong email engagement. Tell us a little bit about the marketing front and how it's been a challenge, I'm sure, over COVID, when you actually weren't selling, but you were getting people interested.
Yeah, it was difficult, right? Marketing is a big revenue stream for any consortia, for any agency. It's a critical piece. But, when I think back to, previous world events, right? In 9/11, the financial crisis, all the rest of it, my predecessor, Michelle Morgan, who was a marketing person, she would say the same thing every time. She would say, look, if small business owners, medium-sized business owners are given, if they have to cut expenses, they will cut marketing, right? Because it's easier than cutting people. It's easier than cutting, looking at other tougher expenses. And people can't afford to cut marketing, right? So we made the decision early on that we were not going to allow people to stop marketing. So the good news is, right, as a cooperative, everybody's in our program. We've got 4.5 million households in our database and a couple of million on the e-marketing database. And we just kept marketing to them. Initially, just inspirational messaging, then informational, and now more tactical and a combination of those things. But we've been driving leads and interest to the members, from back in April of 2020, and at no cost to them, because we knew that they, A, couldn't afford it, and B, even if they could afford it, they'd probably put the money elsewhere. And so it was extremely hard for us, because there were many, many partners who had zero budget, right? Didn't know what to market if they were going to market. And so in many cases, we had to create content and create opportunities and just push it out there to keep our agencies and advisors' names in front of their customers and keep
Right.
people thinking about them. So we're seeing the benefits of that now. We're seeing people who, you know, have cultivated that. Our ask of the agencies and the advisors was, think about your list, right? Clean up your list, dig in. We've done, our team's done a really nice job of just kind of going through people's lists with them and working on database cleansing. And it's such a silly little thing, but gosh, our database has grown like 15 or 20% just from that during COVID. So take that time, right? The whole notion of don't waste the crisis and that kind of thing. So, you know, we've been fortunate. We really have been, and we're coming out the other side. We're seeing the benefits of the work that we put in for the last 20 months.
Well, sort of in closing, where do you see Signature today? Where do you see the industry today? You know, and yeah, we're kind of waiting for this latest Omicron variant to see if it's going to cycle through, and maybe we can start dealing with this. I mean, we're going to have to deal with COVID for a long time. I don't think it's going to evaporate overnight, but you know, when everybody looks at the numbers for 22 and 23, everybody's sort of, this is going to be a great year, and the next year is even going to be better. But and I assume that's what you're seeing. Is this all hopeful, or are we looking at a good things ahead?
I think we are absolutely looking at good things ahead. There's no doubt, right? I don't want to diminish the fact that we're all going to have scars from this, right? Mental, psychological, maybe even some physical scars from this. It hasn't been easy. But when I think about the condition the network is in, I feel very, very confident that, you know, 22 for us, people keep saying, when's it going to get back to normal?
Right.
I say, you know, I don't know what normal looks like. As I said earlier, right? In the case of cruise, our cruise sales are already bigger than they were in 19. So I don't know, is that normal? No. But I look at 22 as an opportunity to get back, but I'm more interested in what's the potential. And I think the potential is absolutely huge.
Right.
You know, when people say, when's my business going to get back to normal? Well, on an advisor level, I think you could produce as much in 22 as you ever did in 2019. I believe that. You know, if you look around your office, there's probably a few less or a couple less advisors, right? There's certainly more demand for advisors, right? The people need us more. So
Right.
the opportunity to earn and earn more effectively is there for 22. But when I think about rebuilding the teams and the rest of it, gosh, 23 could be off the charts. But you're right, we're not done navigating this thing, and it's going to be something that's in our lives for the years to come.
Right.
So you can't get too high or too low. You just got to keep pushing forward.
Absolutely, and that's words to live by, because that's what we got to do. And just you're talking about cruising. I've actually been on 18 cruises this year,
Wow.
in different ships, and some of them were not real cruises. Some of them were 2-day things. Some of them were test cruises. Some of them were owners cruises, and some were real. But I've been on 18 different ships this year, starting in February. So
Well,
a lot of
someone was desperate for some travel, huh? You'd go to an opening of a drawer at that rate. Come on, if you were invited.
I'm thinking of selling my apartment. I'm just going to live on a ship for a while, but you know, and I don't just cover ships, obviously, but for whatever reason, that's what they were, you know, companies wanted us to be aboard and get the word out that cruising was good, and that cruising was really one of the safest forms of transportation you can take, which, you know, you talk to most people, they say, oh my God, I don't want to get stuck on a cruise ship. Well, you get stuck in a country, you can stuck anywhere else. But these days, they're not closing the ports necessarily. They're not stopping the cruise. They're not, you know, quarantining everybody, and it's not going to happen. And everybody's vaccinated, and everybody is tested, right?
I'm going for New Year's, so I'm excited.
There you go. Well, Alex, hopefully next year we'll see you next year at some point, but hopefully next year we can attend your conference and see how you're doing. I assume it's going to be back in Vegas about the same time in November.
We are, right. We're back in Vegas for the next couple of years at least, probably longer than that. Owners meeting in Nashville in September, so hope to see you there as well. But we'll definitely connect long before that, my friend.
I am sure. I'm sorry I'm not going to see you in Cannes, but I understand you have some family stuff to do, and good luck with that. And we'll definitely be seeing you beginning of the year sometime. Great to see you, Alex.
You too. Take care. Thanks for everything.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.